Okay, good afternoon to all of you. Today we are going to discuss about the chapter number 2 the of mobile computing, introduction to mobile development frameworks. So in this chapter we have to study some architecture like client server architecture. Next is your entire architectures and the peer-to-peer architecture. So first come to the client server architecture. Client server architecture is a computing model in which the server hosts, delivers and manages most of the resource and services to be consumed by the client, and this type of architecture has one or more client computers connected to a central server over a network or internet connections. That means in this client server architecture there is a computer which acts as a server or the central hosting computer which hosts the service to the different computer system which acts as a client. So here the client is only the powerful system with only its terminal, and there is nothing like your any processing capability, nothing. They only generate the request or query towards the server. Server receives that query or request and processing that, and again it's sent back to the client side. Clear? So that is the phenomena. So what is the advantage of this area? Suppose you are in a organization, there are more than 1000 system is there, right? So if you are maintaining softwares and hardwares in each client site or in each computer site, then it is very difficult to maintain that thing right now, because there are some technical issues, there are some technical problem which are due to that you are very difficult to maintain that thing. So manpower also is required to attend all the system for troubleshooting. So minimize that type of thing, you have developed this client server architecture. In this architecture there is a server, is a central server which having the application softwares, having the database, everything is encapsulated within that server part, and the client side is only with its terminals like keyboard and the mouse, only that thing. Whatever requirement is required or whatever the issues are required, it can be generated from the client side and moves towards the server. After the processing, that means the server receive the signal or receive the request from the client, and processing that requirement, whatever the data is required for the particular client, take again it back to the client side. So it is the advantage that if there is any problem in the, because client having no application softwares or any database with the system, but the server having the everything, so whatever the problem, then one man can handle this server only. That means if some software problem, if you maintain that server, then you can easily that you can solve that problem. That means your all things are, though all things are presented within that server, you can clear recovery that thing, and it is very easy to maintenance. Only the advantage of client server architecture, it is easy to maintain that thing. Clear? So that's why this architecture is very adaptable architecture in nowadays, and maximum organization are using that type of thing. Next is your in case of the networking achievement or the interconnection, this is also a good architecture for client server architecture, right? So due to that some advantage points in within of the client server system, right? Next is your, the another thing is known as the entire architecture, right? Here tier means the layer architecture. That means you can say the n number of the layer architecture. So it is whatever we discuss in here, that is the web based thing, right? Because in your DBMS also the entire your tier architecture is there, but here we are only to discuss about the web applications. With the increasing use of web applications, the tier architectures, which is the breaking down of an application into logical chunks that are called tiers. So with the increasing use of web application, with the increasing demanding of web applications, the demand according to the demand of the web application, the tier architecture, tier means the layer architecture, which is the breaking down of an application into logical chunks that are called tiers. Then that means entire application is divided into some pieces, logical pieces, which is known as the tier or layer, right? And after the dividing each chunk or each layer, then all layers are communicated with each other. So that is why the tier architecture is applicable. So this tier architecture, here we are going to discuss about one tier architecture, two tier architecture, three tier architecture. Okay. In first one tier architecture, in our one tier architecture is the simplest single tier on single user. That means all things are kept within one system. That means very simple, you can say, like single tier or single user. Next, it is equivalent of running an application on a personal computer and all equipment located within a single application. So how it is implemented, let's see. Suppose one tier architecture is nothing. Suppose you are going to operate a MySQL server inside your home right now. Suppose you have only one pieces, then nothing, second one is not there, and you want to operate with a MySQL server. So what you'll do, now you will install the MySQL server right now. Don't install the MySQL client, because when you install the MySQL server, it behaves like a both client and the server. That's why all things, that means the server application, client application are all available within one system, right? Suppose you maintain the two system, and one is your server and another is your client, then you load the MySQL server with one system, which is to be your server system, and other one, the MySQL client, is loaded within the client architecture. So that is the phenomena. So one tier means all things are loaded within one system, like using your personal system within your home, right? So that is the thing, one tier architecture. It is equivalent, so that's why I'm writing it is equivalent of running an application on a personal computer. Yeah, and all equipment located within a single application. All things are located within one location, within one system. That's the thing. So then it is known as also the one tier architecture. Clear? So this architecture is very simple, and maintenance is also quite very simple, because all are implemented within that thing. So you can easily handle that thing like the single user. Next, come to the two tier architecture. Two tier architecture supply a basic network between client and server, and a browser makes a request from a web server, which then processes the request and returns the desired response. Right. So what about the two tier architecture? Two tier architecture just like the client server system. One machine is client, another is the server machine is there. So when you maintain this two tier architecture, you have to make one system as a client, and you have to make one system as a server. You have to load the server configuration with one system, and you have to load the client configuration with one system. This is the two architecture. With your client, there is a browser which creates the request, and the requests are created from the browser side, that means from the client side, because browser always loaded in your client side, and the request generated from the browser and moves towards the server side, right? Server is the server based application which receive that request and maintain that processing that thing again back to the client system. So this is a two tier architecture. One browser is in your system, in the client system, it generates some request and moves towards the company. Clear now? So that is the two-tier architecture, the simple thing. So a browser makes a request from a web server and which then process the request and returns the response. That is the thing, right? So in the next class we will discuss about the three-tier architecture.